Good day, BSE 11. So this is a pre-recording video in relation to our previous topic, which we were not able to finish last time due to a civil service commitment last week. So this will be a video in relation to the grammatical meta-language, and of course, we will try very best to finish the nouns, the pronouns, and of course the adjectives, so that this entire unit 1 and unit 2, okay, except for the verb, will be the expected topic that you will have to prepare for the upcoming midterm or the rescheduling of your midterm examination, most likely by next week. So that will be already June. Okay, so anyway, since we still have time, okay, right after you have watched this video, please do refer to the instructional material that I'll be providing everybody, and I'll be posting this in our group page, or shall we say Google Classroom. So let us first start with our initial topic to be finished for this session. Okay, so last time we have ended up discussing something about the features of the 3 levels of grammar. We have here the ones that we have discussed before: subsentential, sentential, simple sentences, the 5 basic simple sentences in English, which also has been discussed. Okay, and then I think we have ended with the 5 simple sentences only. Okay, so I think we have to continue by still reminding everybody that when we talk about sentences, it has this what we call as the mood. So let's go here until we reach the nouns. Okay, so in continuing with what we have left last time, when we talk about sentence mood, this conveys the speaker's attitude toward the factual content of the sentence. We have 3 types. Okay, so we have declarative, interrogative, imperative, exclamatory, and subjunctive. Okay, this is 5. Okay, so you would notice also that when we talk about moods, it also refers to different types of sentences. So the first one is an indicative mood, also known as declarative. So it states something that is factual. Okay, and you would also notice that it ends with a period. Okay, which is also the characteristic of a declarative sentence. The second one is interrogative in question form. The secondly given example: what are you going to wear to the party? Okay, and then of course number 3, imperative mood, no, which is known to be used when someone would like to have some command or request, just like for example, pass the milk please, or please pass the milk. The fourth one is exclamatory, another common type of sentence wherein when one's emotion is at high, or when someone is surprised, we used to say, what a beautiful autumn it is, or what a beautiful autumn it is. So there's really high emotion. Okay, it's either surprise, shock, or completely mad. Okay, so the fifth one is subjunctive. Okay, so you would notice that this is a characteristic of indicating a speaker's uncertainty or doubtfulness. Here, realized with the presence of where form. Okay, the linking verb where form. So for example, if I were a bird, I would not eat a worm. Okay, so just like in the song of Beyonce, if I were a boy. Okay, so there is the concept of uncertainty or possibility, okay, because there's the combination of the word if and were. Okay, if only, but you are not. Okay, next we have the theme and the rhyme, which we have discussed several times. When we talk about the theme, okay, this connotes the subject. It's another term for the subject. That's why you would notice that the description states here that it provides the point of departure of the message. So what is the topic all about? Okay, that's why another term for the word theme is the subject. The rhyme connotes the predicative part, okay, the remainder of the message in the clause. So in our example here, it's very obvious that the Club Scouts, which is also labeled as the theme, is also known as the subject of the sentence. On the other hand, the verb held, and then the rest of the remaining part of the sentence is already considered the rhyme, which in layman's term we know as the predicative part. Okay. Now, of course, another characteristic of a sentence is its voice. We have learned in the past that there are 2 types of voices, the active and the passive one. Active voices provides us a sentence wherein the doer of the action is the subject. Passive voices is somehow easily identified by the presence of the by phrase. And you would also notice that the subject is now positioned at the predicative part. Okay, so we are encouraged as always to use an active voice instead of a passive one, because active is more direct and passive is somehow what they call this one, confusing and lengthy at some point. Okay, so the third characteristic of grammatical meta language is suprasentential. Okay, right after we have discussed about the sub, sentential, here comes now the supra. Okay, so for the suprasentential, okay, as we have discussed previously in the introduction to linguistics, this targets the discourse level of language. Okay, so you would notice that the initial characteristic of this discourse, okay, is the notion of backgrounding and foregrounding. Okay, so let's try to explain the difference between the two. When we talk about of backgrounding, from the additional insight that you would see in this parenthesis, okay, it refers to the background. Okay, so it's the backdrop. Okay, the foreground refers to the main storyline. Okay, so if you're watching, for example, a movie, okay, we know for sure that what adds to the movie is not only the presence of the actors and actresses, okay, but also the backdrop, no, okay, and other surrounding elements that makes that movie really hooking or riveting. The color, okay, the environment, the locale, okay, this feature, which is also synonymous when we talk about of examining a sentence. So let's try to evaluate the example given in our slide. Yesterday, I went to the market. It has a lot of fruit that I like. I bought different kind of apples. Okay, so you would notice that in this example, no, we have a relationship of past event, okay, to future, and then we have present tense, okay. So it's not future rather, but the past event serves as our foregrounding rather. Okay, so past event no indicates okay something that had happened in the past. Okay, and it refers to the foreground, the main storyline. Okay, and then we have the present event. No, okay, which represents the background. So what does background and foregrounding in supersentential sentence means? Okay, so if we're going to evaluate once again the initial sentence, yesterday I went to the market. So the past event states or provides us, okay, an idea that the speaker or the narrator, okay, of a particular written discourse or oral shared insight, okay, is already telling us that the action is already over. So the time frame, okay, excuse me, let's go back, okay. All right. So the time frame is already indicated in the beginning of the sentence, and the time frame definitely refers to the word yesterday. Okay. So together with the word yesterday, you would notice that we have here presence, the presence of the verb phrase were. Okay. So this really locks in the idea that something is already over. Okay. And then you would notice that after citing, okay, the time frame, okay, there's an additional detail which was provided in the second sentence. It has a lot of fruit that I like. Okay, I bought different kind of apples. All right, so you would notice that the movement from telling that the narrator went out yesterday, okay, and then the description that it has a lot of fruit that the narrator liked, okay, it moved into stating that the narrator or the speaker bought different kinds of apples, okay. So you would notice that the concept of backgrounding and foregrounding tells us about the concept or the relationship of the past, okay, and the present, all right. So at present, what do you think, no? Okay. What do you think did the uh, speaker, okay, of this narration do, okay, after buying the apple? So that is something to be filled, okay, as part of the completion of the sentence. For example, yesterday I went to the market. It has a lot of fruit that I like. I bought different kinds of apples. Later, I'll be cutting these apples and blend it for a noontime shake. Okay, so you would notice that the movement really follows the past, okay, the present, no, okay, form of order. No? So if we have a background, definitely there is an expecting foreground, no, when we talk of narration or conversation. Okay. Now, other features of suprasentential, okay, grammatical meta-language, the idea of cohesion. So, Halliday and Hassan in 1976 point out that there are 5 linguistic mechanisms for text to have relationship. Okay, from the word itself, cohesion. Okay, so the first one is reference. So the example here, the boy wanted a new shoe. He bought one yesterday. You would notice that the word he, okay, is capitalized here, no, for the intention of telling all of you that he is a pronoun. Okay, so the pronoun he is a point of reference, no, okay. It's actually used, no, to refer back to the antecedent, which is the noun boy, the common noun boy. Okay, so under the case of reference, no, you would notice that referencing uses pronoun. Okay, the second one is the idea of ellipsis. Okay, so let's examine the sentence. No, first, letter A, who wrote the letter? Okay, so letter B, Marty. Okay, the response Marty elliptically signals that Marty wrote the letter. So from the word itself, elliptical, okay, so it refers back, it goes back, no, okay, it answers back the one who is responsible for writing the letter. Okay, so who wrote the letter? Okay, so elliptically, there is an expected answer from someone who is being conversed with. I think it's Marty. So the answer Marty refers back to the one who is responsible for writing the letter. Okay, the third one is substitution. So after reference, ellipsis, the third characteristic to have relationship from one sentence to another is through substitution. So example number 1. I plan to enter college next year. Okay, this is typographical. It's only single to. Okay, if I do, all right, if I do, so you would notice that the word do, okay, it substitutes, no, for the word to enter college. Okay, again, I plan to enter college next year. If I do, okay, so the verb do here, okay, function as a substitution for the word entering in college. So if I do, okay, I think I'll be taking BS Education as my major course, okay? So that is the case of substitution. Next is the conjunction. So this one is very famous and definitely it's already basic, okay? Because we know that the purpose of conjunction is to relate, okay? So it serves as a glue, no? So definitely it falls under the idea of cohesion. So in this example, Peter needed money. He therefore decided to get a job. Okay, so the conjunction therefore here, okay, tells us that something is already in conclusion. All right, therefore he decided to get a job. You might also ask, ma'am, is it possible for therefore to be in a prior, okay, the pronoun he definitely, no, but you would notice that the intention here of the writer, okay, from our source, no, okay, the presence of the word he prior the word therefore indicates that the subject is actually a man, okay, and that subject refers back to the man in the beginning of the sentence, in the initial sentence, whose name is Peter, okay. Peter needed money. He therefore decided to get a job, okay. Next, we have lexical cohesion. So here, from the word itself, lexical, okay, it uses words. So in this example, it uses synonym, okay. So again, when we talk about of lexicon, lexeme, okay, you know for sure that it refers back to vocabulary. And what comprises our vocabulary? It comprises of synonym, okay, antonym, what else, no? Okay, prefixes, no? Okay, it helps when it comes to showcasing negation and other. So let's now proceed in the evaluating our example. He was grateful for the money. He slipped the coins into his pockets or pocket. Okay, again, he was grateful for the money. He slipped the coins into his pocket. So the word coins refers back to the word money in the initial sentence. Okay, so our takeaway when it comes to the idea of lexicon, okay, is the concept of enhancing our um, what they call this one, piled idea in terms of our synonym and antonyms, okay? Because the more that you are able to collect synonymous words, no, the greater the chance that you will not end up, okay, monotonous, okay? And you will not end up making your choice of words as a cliche, no? Imagine, if you're going to make use of the word money, 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 no, in every part of your sentence, okay, it will constantly bring about to the point that it would, be like a cliche. It would lose its emphasis or impact. No? So if you have, for example, coins, no? If you have dime, no? Okay, penny, all right? So these are words that are definitely connected to the idea of money, okay? So coins here refers back to the money in the initial sentence, okay? Another one when we talk about a supersentential is the idea of the register. Okay, so register refers to the formality, the level of formality of language. So we have here cases of field, tenor, and mode. So we have FTM. Field refers to the social activity in which the language is being used and what is being talked about. Okay. Tenor, on the other hand, is concerned with the roles of the interlocutors. Okay. What is meant by the word interlocutors, ma'am? Okay. So we have examples of sentences as such: declarative, interrogative, and imperative. Mode, on the other hand, refers to the channel of communication, whether language is written or spoken, okay? Face-to-face or remotely given, okay? So simply put, when we talk about a field, okay, this is the social activity where the language, okay, might be asked to be used, okay, or the language is ought to be shared, all right? So if you will recall our purposive communication, we have different 5 types of language register, right? Formal, informal, casual, what else? Okay, intimate, frozen, and static. Let's also includes neutral. So the field is the context. Okay, it's the context. It can also refer to the place where an expected conversation might happen. And if you will recall in purposive form, when you converse with people, we also have to consider the atmosphere, right? So the audience, the topic, and the situation. These are all our basis, no, as to what kind of language we are supposed to use. No? So field, okay, is referring to that kind of notion. Tenor, on the other hand, as we have said, what kind of sentence are we going to make use of? Would it be exclamatory sentence? Okay. Would it be a question mark, imperative, and so on and so forth? No. And then the mode, okay, what are you going to use? No. Are you going to talk to the person via written discourse, spoken, face-to-face, recording, and others? Okay. The fourth one is the genre. So right after register, the genre refers to linguistic variation. This is due to communicative purpose to which a language is put. For example, language in research paper versus recipe versus a letter of recommendation. So just like the concept of language register, when we talk about genre, okay, we try to adjust our choice of words depending on the matter or manuscript that we are all doing. Okay, so if you're writing a love letter, definitely it's more personalized. But if you're writing a research paper, we know for sure that even the point of views, okay, must be our top priority. Okay, so when you write a research paper, we are always informed that a research paper should always be in the third person point of view. Whereas in a love letter, no, you know for sure that it should be in first person. Okay. The fifth characteristic is the given and the new. Okay. So the given is referring to the information which is assumed by the writer, which is known by the reader. Okay. And then the new is the newsworthy, not something the writer can take for granted that the reader knows. Okay. Once again, this is a typographical. It has to be with the word reader should have E, no? Okay, before letter R. So given, these are insights that is totally expected by the one who is writing, okay? And this should be known also by the reader, okay? On the other hand, new is something that the writer is offering the readers to digest, okay? And whenever they offer this kind of insights in writing or even in speaking, okay, they know that this matter, all right, this idea matter, all right. So for instance, no, if you would hear people who would insert vocabulary words, no, okay. For instance, when it comes to pandemic, right now we are talking about of monkeypox, no, monkey. Is it monkeypox? If I'm not mistaken, it's pox, all right. So we know that it's synonymous to the word chicken pox, no, okay. But is it really known by the many? Okay, and not all no is aware about the concept of monkeypox. But in the world of medicine, they say that it's synonymous with chickenpox. But why is it delivered in the mass media? Why is it necessary for public information drive? Okay, because there's something dreadful, no, that is being raised by this, monkeypox experience. No? So there is the notion, the knowledge that the vocabulary word has to be shared, no, because people, no, need to be exposed with it so that they can prepare and they will not develop some sort of fear. No? So just like that in the word of medicine. Okay. Other than that, what else? So we have here the basic sentence patterns in English. No? Okay, that at some point in linguistics you have been able to get acquainted with. No? The initial one is the noun plus the be verb plus the adjective, where the adjective is an SC or a subjective complement. In particular, a predicative adjective. So it can be an SC. It can also be labeled as a PA or predicative adjective. So the adjective here refers back to the subject, and the copulative verb be would mean may be described as. Okay, so it would mean may be described as. Let's take a look at the example provided. Chocolates are sweet. Okay, chocolates are sweet. So you would notice that we have here the subject chocolates. No, our linking verb, the be verb is are. Okay, and of course the adjective is the word sweet. Okay, so the relationship here is sweet refers back to the subject chocolates. No, okay, that's the reason why sweet function as the subjective complement of the verb of the subject chocolate. So it refers back to the subject chocolate. What is sweet? I think you're referring to the chocolate. Ah, yeah, I know it. Okay. So this can also be seen as a predicative adjective too, because you would notice that right after the linking verb, we have here the adjective sweet. Okay. But at any rate, no, it describes the subject. So the most exact description would be it's an SC. Okay. So that's the first formula when we talk about the basic sentence pattern. All right. The next one is the noun plus the be verb plus the UW or the uninflected word. Okay. Where the uninflected word is an adverbial. Okay. Such as here, there, up, down, in, out, inside, upstairs, downstairs, on, off, now, then, yesterday, and tomorrow. Be has the meaning of be located or occur. Okay. Let's examine the provided instance here. The meeting was yesterday. Okay. So you would notice that we have here, by the presence of the determiner the, a noun phrase. Okay. The meeting. All right. So we have here a noun phrase. No? And definitely meeting here function as the noun. And then of course we have the be verb was. And of course we have the uninflected word, no, which tells us that it's an adverb. What kind of adverb, ma'am? It's an adverb of time. Okay. When was the meeting held? Okay. It was held yesterday. So this is an example of an adverbial. Okay. Adverb of time. Okay. So the sentence pattern here is noun. Okay. Be verb, which is the linking verb was, and the uninflected word, which is an adverbial. Okay. Yesterday. All right. Now take note, children, that the adverb, okay, as we have discussed in the past, I hope that there are those who are able to get it, no? But adverb is one of the most flexible part of speech. No? You can see it in the end part of your sentence. You can also see it, no, in the beginning of the sentence. Just like, for example, yesterday, we have attended the meeting. Okay. The meeting was attended by everybody yesterday. So that's how flexible the adverb is. Okay. The third one is n sub 1 plus b plus n sub 1. Okay, so here comes now the superscript, okay? But let's call it as n sub 1, okay, plus be verb and then another n sub 1, where the superscript means that the two nouns have the same referent. Okay, so I wasn't able to put the number 1 into superscript mode, but it has to be written on the upper right hand of that capitalized letter N. Okay, so n sub 1, all right? That is how it should be read, okay? The second noun following the verb is also a subject complement. In particular, it can function as a predicate noun or a predicate nominative. Okay, it can be a predicate noun or a predicate nominative. So you can label it that way. For example, her neighbor is my cousin. Okay, her neighbor is my cousin. All right. So if we're going to label this sentence, okay, we have here the word or the pronoun her, neighbor, okay? And then we have here the linking verb is, all right? And then we have the N1 cousin, okay? So you would notice that the word cousin, okay, it refers back to the one being described here, no? Okay? Her neighbor. Whose neighbor? It was her neighbor, okay? So this one function as our N1. And then this one, okay, is also our N sub 1 because the cousin here refers back to the neighbor, and the neighbor, okay, is definitely the cousin which is being described. So the relationship here is subjective complement because the cousin complements, no, the subject neighbor. Whose neighbor? It was hers, not mine. Okay. Next, number 4, we have the presentation of noun plus intransitive verb or NIV. Okay, where the intransitive verb does not require an object. The verb being self-sufficient can stand alone with its subject. Just like, for example, glasses break. Okay, so in this example sentence, no, one need not to really add anymore if the person feels that the description is already enough. Okay, glasses break. Okay, so the presentation here. Okay, let's go back. All right. Okay. Glasses break. So it's a form of description that tells us that the noun, okay, glasses na, were broken. Okay, so it doesn't require an object. What have we discussed before in terms of the transitive and intransitive verb? An intransitive verb does not require, okay, another entity, you know, that comes after it. So it can stand on its own. Okay, so noun plus intransitive verb formula. The fifth one is n sub 1 plus transitive verb plus n sub 2. Okay, so you would notice that we already have the presence of n sub 2. Okay, do not get confused because you would notice here that this sentence pattern is synonymous with subject, transitive verb, and the direct object. Okay, where the N2 does not have the same referent as N1. Okay, N2 is called the DO of the verb. Okay, the receiver of the action. Just like in the example, the girl buys yellow roses. Okay, what did the girl buy? Okay, I think she bought yellow roses. Okay, so yellow roses here answers the questions what. That's why this is also a good chance of saying that this is the direct object. The girl is our N1, and then of course, no, okay, buys is our transitive verb, which requires an object, no, and that object refers back to roses. What kind of roses? Yellow roses. So this is an adjective. Okay. Next, for number 6, we have an n sub 1 plus transitive verb plus n sub 2 plus n sub 3. Okay, where the superscripts 1, 2, and 3 for the nouns, okay, 1, 2, and 3 indicate that each noun has a different referent, okay? So if you're going to examine it closely, okay, by the example, mother gave a gift to the orphan, all right? Mother is our N1, gave is our transitive verb, gift function as our second noun, and then orphan is our N3, all right? So what does it gives you? We have here a sentence pattern which is called as subject, transitive verb, okay? What about a gift? Okay, would it function as a DO or IO? Okay, so let's check. What did mother give to the orphan? Mother gave a gift. So it answers the questions what? So this is the direct object. For whom or to whom was the gift mother, okay, prepared for. It's for the orphan, so it answers the questions for whom or to whom. So the orphan here function as our indirect object. So the sentence pattern here is STV DOIO, but in terms of the formula, we have the N sub 1 plus transitive verb plus N sub 2 plus N sub 3. Okay, so that is the formula for number 6. Okay, now we have a little quite longer type of formula, okay, in the presence of N sub 1 plus transitive verb plus N sub 2. Okay, take note that your N sub 2 no, may function as N sub 2 still. It can also be an adjective. It can be an adverb of place, no, okay, that N2. It can be an uninflected, no, okay, word, verb in the present participle or a verb in the past participle. Okay, so to understand further this formula, let us examine the following sentences. No? Number 1, the class voted Henry secretary. Okay, so in this sample sentence, we have the N1, which is class. Voted is our transitive verb. And then, of course, no, we have N2. Okay, which one is N2, ma'am? Secretary. No? Who were able to vote? We voted for Henry as our new secretary. So actually, Henry is definitely our N2. No? Okay, however, there is a description right after the main noun, okay, the proper noun Henry, and that is the secretary. So this one, okay, if Henry is our N2, right after Henry, we have an object complement. Okay, so you would notice that we have N sub 1 plus transitive verb plus N sub 2, and then for the N sub 2, we have secretary as an object complement of the proper noun Henry. Okay, so it's N sub 1 plus transitive verb plus N sub 2 plus another N sub 2, which refers back to Henry. Okay, the next example sentence would give us this. The principal found the gardener efficient. Okay, the principal found the gardener efficient. So we know that we have how many nouns? N1 is the principal, the transitive verb is found, and then we have N2, the gardener. Okay, but right after the gardener, we have an adjective. Okay, efficient, which describes back the N2. Okay, so take note that right after your N2 or second noun, the predicative part, no, okay, you can check, no, okay, if right after that you have an object complement or an adjective. In the case of number 2, we have an adjective, very efficient gardener. Okay. Third, pronoun. Okay. We consider the writer you. Okay. So again, our sentence pattern here is N sub 1, we, transitive verb considered, and then the writer is our N2. But there is another element right after writer. Okay. We consider the writer you. Okay. So you here function as a pronoun. Okay, pronoun. Next, number 4, an adverb of place case. The teacher directed the outside. Okay, so it's like saying the teacher directed the students. Okay, outside. All right. So this is an exact or a clear example of an adverb of place. Okay, the teacher directed the outside. The outside is our adverb of place. Again, we are still on the same pattern. And sub 1, teacher, transitive verb directed, and then the outside, particularly outside, is our N sub 2. Okay. The fifth one is she saw them praying. Okay. So again, our N sub 1 in the sentence is she, our transitive verb is saw, and then them is our N sub 2. However, we have an additional element right after N sub 2. Okay, right? So praying, what does praying stands for? Okay, so since it is in the ing form of the verb, then it functions as present participle. Okay, the next one is I imagine my father overworked. Okay, I is our N sub 1, imagine is our transitive verb, father is our N sub 2, but right after father, what comes next? Okay, overworked. Okay, so this is an example of a past participle tense of the verb in a regular form. Regular form because it has an ed. Okay, from its regular overwork, to make it in simple past, we add ed. Okay, to make it in past participle form, we add has, have, or had. Okay, and then of course there are cases that you have to pair it with been and others. Okay. All right. So I hope you were able to get the seventh formula. Okay. All right. So just in case that you still find it difficult, okay, please go back once again and examine our example because we have provided you a very detailed example. Okay. Now let's proceed to the nouns. Okay. This one is already given to you for you to read. So the following slides, okay, I hope you're able to run across the details here, okay? Because I'll be moving on towards the parts that requires other examples, okay? So, all right. Okay, so I'll lead you now, okay? I'll walk you through to another source of information, okay, where we talk about what the nouns, okay? So I have here with me unit number 2. So I'll upload this at our Google Classroom. But before uploading, let me try to remind everybody of certain matters here. Okay, I'm not going to read all paragraphs. I will just lead you to some insights. Okay, that can give you some sort of clarity. Okay, as you go back and reread once again our next unit chapter. All right. So this is entitled grammatical categories. Now, when we talk about the grammatical categories, okay, what are those? So, this refers to set of specific syntactic properties, no? Okay, specific syntactic properties of words that can cause those words and other related sentences to change in form for grammatical reasons, ensuring agreement between words. Okay, the various kinds of grammatical categories include the following: something that concerns about the number, definiteness, tense and aspect, case, person, gender, and mood. Okay, so you would notice that when we talk about a grammatical category, it's a class of units which refers to, okay, initially we have here the part of speech such as the noun and the verb, no? Okay, which have definitely no cases on number, no, and other features. Okay, so other than that, what else are we supposed to be reminded of? Okay, so in terms of identifying grammar groups, so one of the most basic ways is to create grammatical categories through grouping words together in accordance to their classes. So when we talk about the classes, these are words that sets a display the same properties such as inflection or verb tenses. Put another way, the concept of grammatical categories can be defined as set of words with the same meaning, also known as semantics. Okay, there are two families of classes. We have the lexical and the functional. Okay, does it ring a bells amongst your senses? No, lexical and functional. Okay, classes. All right. So lexical classes refers to the following parts of speech, no, that carries more meaning, namely the nouns, the verbs, the adjectives, and the adverbs. Okay. Functionals, on the other hand, are considered as the minor class because they are doing a role, no, okay, for a particular function. For example, determiners, no, such as the, article a, article and, the demonstrative pronouns such as that, this, that, those, okay, what else, no, okay, and so on and so forth, no. This are examples of determiners, no, that functions for a particular usage, no. This is my pen, so it connotes some sort of possession. That is my father, so it also calls for not only relationship but demonstrating, pointing out to other people that your father is somewhere, okay, within your reach or somewhere far, but people can see him. Okay, so it has different purposes, all right? Just like particles, prepositions, modals, qualifiers, questions, words, conjunctions, and so many more, okay? So using this definition, you can create grammatical categories like the following. Verb denotes action such as go, destroy, buy, eat, and others. The noun denotes entities, no, such as car, cat, hill, John, and others. Adjectives denote states such as ill, happy, rich, and others. Adverbs denotes manner, badly, slowly, painfully, cynically, and prepositions may denote location, such as under, over, outside, in, on, and others. Okay. So other grammar tips, no? Be careful though, some words have multiple functions such as the word watch. Okay, remember the case of homonyms, homophones, no, okay, and homographs. All right, so take note of this, no, BSE English, no. When we talk about of homographs, no, these are words that are definitely spelled the same, but they have different meanings. Okay, homophones, no, these are words that they sound the same, but these are spelled indifferently. Okay, and at the same time, they have this different meaning. Okay, for example, number two to the preposition to, and then the intensifier too bad. Okay, so those are examples of homophones. No, okay. And then, of course, actually, if we will evaluate the concept of homophones and homographs, that can give us to the idea of homonyms. No, okay. Anyway, these are actually things that we will elaborate furthermore. Okay? So be careful, no? Because the word batch may function as a verb and it can also function as a noun. Okay, watch referring to time, and then watch referring to the watch itself. Okay, the what they call this one, the watch that you used to look for time. Okay, and then the other one is a verb rather. Okay, watch out over there. Okay, to see. Okay, all right. Other than that, what else? Oh, yun. Other words such as gerunds may also appear to be a part of speech or a verb and yet function differently as a noun. For example, no, the gerundal phrase buying a house. Okay, so you would notice that this is a noun phrase, okay, that is delivered, okay, with the presence of a verb buying, okay. But take note that if a noun phrase is seen this way, okay, it is not supposed to be evaluated on the basis of the initial part of speech, but it should be seen as a whole, no? Okay, because this is part of your noun phrase. Buying a house, okay, is difficult in this economy. So if you would happen to see already a linking verb, no, okay, that's already a safe zone, no, for all of you to realize that, okay, this is the verb phrase, so automatic, no, the remaining part of my sentence is already a noun phrase. But which one is the noun, okay? So the noun here is definitely the phrase itself, buying a house, but that is specifically called as a gerund, okay, a gerund. All right, now let's proceed to the nouns. No, okay. Again, I am expecting that you have read, okay, the one that we have inserted as a recall and review for your slide. So this part, no, okay, will also be some sort of recall and review of how familiar you are when it comes to the nouns. Okay, so there are characteristic of nouns, no, okay, as per Celsi-Mirsha, no, and Larsen Freeman. It can be via morphological characteristics, okay? Nouns are always inflected for number and case, with exceptions, no? Of course, example given, uncountable nouns, no? Case inflection is somehow restricted. Complex morphological structure, example given, compound and derived nouns, such as, for example, bombshells and brightness, okay? Yan. So we have here bombshells, no? Okay? So it's a compound derived noun, okay? So we have bomb and shell, okay? And then we have brightness too, no? Okay? So this is also a compounded word with a morphological presence of NESS, no? Okay? In the end, okay, which also falls under the complex morphological structure of the characteristic of noun. Syntactically, when we talk about of noun, it always occur as the head of the phrase, diba? Sabi nga natin eh, example given, the new book. Okay, so this is a combination of a determiner, an adjective, and the noun book. So these three constituents are considered an NP, okay? So within the noun phrase lies, no, okay, our noun, which is the book, okay? Noun NPs or noun phrases function as subject, object, or even object of a clause. So remember those things, okay? Semantically, nouns refers to concrete entities in the external world. Yeah, totoo yun. It can denote qualities and it can also state something, okay? What else? Nouns function as agent or recipient somehow in the clauses part, okay? Clauses part, no, we have independent clause and the dependent one. Okay, so when we talk about of clauses, no, okay, again in Tagalog we called it sugnay na nakapag-iisa for the independent clause, and then sugnay na hindi nakapag-iisa for the dependent clause. Okay, so when you happen to see your sentence with a complex, no, okay, or compound complex presentation, there always be a presence of a noun in the beginning of your sentence and of course in the dependent clause area. Okay, what are the different types of nouns? Okay, this one is already basic for everybody, but there are additional terminologies to add in your what do you call this one, a grammatical mind. Okay, so common and proper, you know that, no, already. Common, uncountable or uncountable, no, okay, we have the characteristic of being concrete, accessible to the senses, observable, and it's measurable. Okay, and then of course abstract, non-observable, and immeasurable. Okay, for a proper noun, it has some sort of unique reference, no, unique because it can stand on its own. It has a specific label. Okay, for example, what is your name? My name is Jesseline. Okay, so your name is not as usual as Mary, diba? As Carla and whatsoever, no? It's unique at some point. So proper noun stands for something that is unique. Okay, that's why it's actually challenging you today's time to generate names, no, okay, of our, nieces, nephews, no, children, or names of dogs, to make it unique, no, okay. Anyway, no determiner or number in contrast, no, okay. At the same time, it does include, no, okay, personal names, geographical names, and also institution for proper nouns. Okay, collective nouns, on the other hand, refers to groups of single entities. So, for example, audience, no, okay, an audience hopefully will be able to watch this recorded video. Okay, an army. Okay, next we have an addition. No, we have this what we call as partitive constructions, also known as unit nouns. No, so we have two types of partitive unit nouns. No, the quantity partition and the quality partition. Okay, so what's the difference between the two? Take a look on how they are being characterized. For the quantity, okay, of non-count nouns, example of which is this: a piece of cake. Okay, non-count, a piece of cake. Of plural count nouns, example given, a flock of sheep. Okay, and then of singular count nouns, for example given, a page of book. All right, so you will notice that the quantity is actually a partition of a whole. Okay, so that's the logic behind the word, no? Okay, quantity partition. So you would see that it uses, no, okay, quantifiers: a piece of, a flock of, a page of. Okay, so that makes the noun more distinct, or shall we say specific. Okay, a piece of what? That is a piece of wood. Okay, I see. So not a cake, not a cake, but a piece of wood. All right. Now for the quality partition, this is expressed with kind or sort. Example given, a new kind of computer, a delicious kind of bread. So from the word itself, quality, it discusses about the characteristic, no, okay, of an entity. Okay, expressed with the concept of sort of or kind of. Okay, a new kind of computer. Okay, so if it's new, then what makes it really different from others? No, so the feature, no, okay, of the gadget or the computer will now be, discussed as compared to the discuss further, no, to really prove that it's a new version of the older. Okay, now for the determiners, no, okay, when we talk about the determiners, no, these are definitely part of speech that helps most likely the nouns, no, okay, to be identified if they are singular or plural. No, so determiners may be function words used to specify the reference of the noun. Okay, so examples, no, meron tayong tinatawag na types of determiners: central, predeterminers, post determiners. Okay, let's take a look on the central determiners. Yeah. Central determiners, examples of which are as follows, no? Okay, articles, demonstratives, possessives, WH determiners, and the negative determiner. Okay, so for the articles, we have the determiner the article a, and of course the word zero. Okay, you might be surprised that zero is part of the central determiners, no? Okay, demonstrative are also known as determiners. No, this is what we are always reiterating. You can make use of this, that for noun count and singular noun count, no, nouns. These and those for plural count nouns, okay? And then we also have possessive, the my, our, your, his, and her. They can also act as determiners of the noun, okay? The WH, which, whose, whichever. And of course, we have the pre-determiner also, such as all, both, half, multiple, double, once, twice, okay? So you would see that the predeterminers, they come before, right? The central determiners, they can be from the beginning, from the word itself, central part of the sentence, or even at the predicative part. Okay. Now, for the post-determiners, they are made up of ordinal numbers and semi-determiners. What are examples of such? We have same, other, the former, the latter, student. Okay. The former idea, last, and then next. For the cardinal numbers and quantifying determiners, they are also known as post-determiner, such as much, many, any, every, and few. Okay. All right. So other than that, what else are we supposed to add? No, we have this specific versus generic reference. No, in relation to, once again, the use of articles. Okay, articles. So when we talk about the noun, okay, nouns are introduced by determiners and also articles, diba? A boy, a girl, no, a new electric fan. Okay, that electric fan. Okay, that gadget. So the first one is for specific reference. Under specific reference, we have this what we call as the definite article. And then the other one is the indefinite article. Okay, so the definite article concerns about reference to that which can be identified uniquely in the context or situational preference or general knowledge of speaker and here. Example, the Pope, the president, the stars. Now, from the word itself, definite article, okay, this is used, no, okay, to really connote, no, okay, to act specifically, referring to one single entity. I have seen him, okay, I felt I was blessed, I'm totally blessed. So, who were able, who are you referring to? I'm referring to the Pope, okay, the Pope himself, all right? So, you would notice that the presence of the determiner the really emphasize a specific person being characterized or being described. Okay. All right. Anaphoric reference is part of the definite article as you see. So when we talk about of anaphoric reference, reference is established earlier in discourse, no, directly. Okay. So it's also known as direct anaphoric reference. Okay. Or it can also be the reverse, no, indirect, okay, anaphoric reference. Reference inferred from general knowledge, okay? Cataphoric reference is established by somehow following later in the text. So examples of which are modifiers, okay? Yan, mga modifiers ang halimbawa ng cataphoric reference, no? Okay. Yan. All right. So sometimes, no, okay, the anaphoric ones, no, would also be experienced when it comes to the presence of the usage of the determiner ta. Okay. Indefinite articles, so when are we supposed to make use of that? So reference is not uniquely identifiable from shared knowledge of speaker and addressee. Narrows down reference to a single member of a class. No? Okay. It is used to introduce a specific entry in scores and subsequently reference made with the anaphoric that. Okay. The zero article, it's used with uncountable and plural nouns. Okay. It expresses generic or universal or non-specific reference. No? It's used in reference to, example given, meals, institutions, means of transportation and communication, times of the day, days, months, and seasons. Okay. Generic, on the other hand, refers to whole class rather than to an individual person or thing. So all articles can be used for generic references. No? So zero article, most common in generic references, while generic references as well includes, no, okay, the following examples below. The, okay, a, and honest man. Pwede siyang the honest man, an honest man. Okay, this, that, those, and these can also be part. Okay, nouns can also be attributed to the idea of number. Ayan. So number, which is marked by the inflection, okay? Concord between subject and verb, relationship, no? Co-occurrence patterns between the determiner and the noun. Oh, yun. For example, an elephant, the elephants, okay? So magkaiba yan, no? An elephant. The elephants are roaming, okay? So hindi natin pwedeng gamitin yung elephants are roaming in the field, no? Kasi we know that the concept of the relationship between subject and verb, and then the pattern between the determiner and the noun, okay? The standard, no, must be followed. Variable nouns, they have singular and plural forms. Invariable have no number or contrast. Example, a ball versus the balls. These balls, okay? So we have singular and plural forms, no? Okay, for usage. The balls, these balls. Okay, yun ang example niya. Mumps is known as, okay, information is, mathematics is. So invariable, have no number in contrast. Yung paggamit ng is dito. Mumps is known as, information is, no? Because information is singular, no? Okay. Mathematics is a name of a subject. That's why it's not supposed, as per the rule, no? It's not supposed to be are, but you know, mathematics is, okay? Next, we have the regular and irregular plurals, no? So nouns also experience the regular plural form, okay, by means of adding s, and then the irregular plural forms, no, by the following addition. From knife to knives, no, okay, vowel changes, man, man, foot, feet, adding of en in the word child, children, and oxen. And then the zero plural form, okay, which concerns of the following examples: sheep, deer. So there's no such thing as sheepen, deers, okay, no, okay. What else, no? Other than that, okay, some quantifying nouns, example are as follows: pound, dozen, hundreds. All right. So to add further, we have foreign plural samples under the Latin and Greek plurals, no? Nucleus, nuclei, millennium. Millennia, hypothesis, and hypothesis. Ayan, hypothesis, hypothesis. Okay. Plural only nouns, no? We have binary nouns, entities comprising two parts. Example given, scissors, trousers, and tawag natin dyan ay binary nouns, such as binoculars, no? Aggregate nouns, examples, no? These are entities that are comprising an indefinite number of parts, example given, data, goods, media, and outskirts. So ang tawag po natin dyan is aggregate noun, okay? Singular only nouns, no? Such as proper nouns, for example, London. Noun count nouns, example, cheese and solidarity. Nouns in ICS, such as the subject mathematics and physics. And of course, nouns of the seas, such as mumps and missiles. No? So they are always, no, okay, considered as singular nouns. Okay. Words for games such as billiards, collective nouns, example committee, government, and team. Okay, and others, example given, use and nouns ending in s. Okay. Now, general grammatical and natural gender. Grammatical gender, example given in German, may or may not reflect the biological sex of the entities involved. Okay, involved rather. Okay, natural gender thus reflects sex of entities, and English, no grammatical gender but natural gender only. Not feature of nouns as in Germans. Related to meanings of nouns with, you know, reference to biological sex, make use of pronouns which correlate with nouns. Relevance to grammar determines the selection of pronouns with WH, personal, and reflexive. Okay, so here are examples of gender classes. Okay, so as you notice, no, when we were young, we were able to get exposed already with this diagram. Okay, and as you notice, no, all right, when we talk about of personal and non-personal, okay, and inanimate object, we have a particular noun for usage. No, for example, no, okay, for personal part, we have male, female, dual, and common. Non-personal, we have the following categories: collective, familiar animal, less familiar animal. Okay, so if we are referring to a boy, we can make use of who and he. If we're referring to a girl, we can make use of who and she. For a doctor, we can make use of who or he or she. For a baby, we can make use of the WH who, he, she, and it. For a family, collective, non-personal, we can make use of which, it, who, and they. Familiar, familiar animal. For male, bull, for instance, so we can make use of which, he, and it. Okay. Female, on the other hand, our example here is cow. We can make use of which, she, and it. For a dual label, no? Okay. For cat, we can make use of which and she or it. Okay. Less familiar animals, such as that of squirrel, we can make use of which as a WH um, pronoun. Okay. And then he and it, plus the inanimate window, which and it. Okay, so these are a few reminders for everybody to identify. Okay, so again, when we talk about of now, we cannot get away with the idea of cases. No, okay. So formal category of the noun, which defines its relations to other units in the Old English, it has 4 cases distinguished by inflections. No, okay. So nominative case, no, genitive, dative, and accusative. No, all right. So nominative, subjective, no? Genitive, no? Okay? And dative plus accusative form, no? Okay? Provides us with the following examples. Let's take a look on the following succeeding insights, okay? For the modern English, we have 2 cases. Common case, the noun has no ending at all, okay? Now, in the case of the genitive, no? Formed, the noun is formed by adding an S to the singular form of the noun, okay? The apostrophe is present in writing. Plural forms ending in S add the sign alone apostrophe. For example, given, cows has tails, no? Okay? All right? Used with the names that ends in Z, and foreign names, example given, Socrates, doctrine. Okay? And then same function as the of construction, the of genitive. Okay? Choice based on gender and style, genitive ending personal pronouns, and familiar animals. Of genitive, inanimate nouns, and also title. So the double genitive, a friend of Deborah's. No? Okay, bakit siya double? Who are you referring to? I'm referring to a friend of Deborah's. No? Okay, so Deborah has another friend. Yes, no? I think I have met her. Who? Deborah's friend. Okay, so Deborah is your friend, and then you have another friend who happens to be a friend of Deborah? No. Okay. So you would notice that the word or the description, a friend of Deborah's, no? Okay, you are describing, no? Okay, not only your friend's friend, no, but her friend, no, who may be close or not close to you, but taking into consideration how the insight is delivered, a friend of Deborah. So meaning to say, it's a plain description. Okay, ayan. Meanings of the genitive case, no? Okay, sa genitive case, meron tayong possession, form, example given, the child's coat. Origin, example given, the traveler's story. Okay, attribution, example given, the victim's courage. No? Okay, attributive, ibig sabihin, it means, characteristics. No? Partition, example given, the brain's two hemisphere. Okay, the brain's two hemisphere. Next, subjective, example given, the hostage's application. Okay, objective, example given, the hostage's release. And then the description, children's shoes. Yun, okay? So again, these are examples of the genitive forms of the nouns. Okay. And of course, we have the cases, personal, objective, subjective, and genitive case. So earlier, you have seen here, okay, the 4 cases as determined by the inflection of the nouns via cases. Now, let's look how it is specifically discussed further. So for the personal pronouns, we don't have to really, cite I, okay, we, and so on and so forth. Let's go on recalling objective case. This is also known as accusative, all right? Accusative type of case. No? For example, when used as object of a clause, example given, he saw me. I was seen by my father. My father saw me. Okay? So you would notice that the highlighted word here He saw me. Okay? Who is that he that you're referring to? No? Okay? Who was seen? I was seen. All right? Who saw you? My father. Okay? Whose father? My father. Not yours, but my father. So you would notice here that the objective pronoun me, okay, is already positioned at the end of the sentence. No? Okay? Kaya objective case siya, di ba? I was seen by my father. Okay? So in this example, this is a passive sentence, no? Because of the presence of by phrase, no? Okay? And at the same time, no, you would notice that at the predicative part, right after the by phrase, we have the preposition or the possessive uh, pronoun my. Okay, so that also indicates objective. Okay, objective case. My father saw me. Okay, so whose father? My father. So it's used as the initial part of the sentence, and of course, the objective case of the personal pronoun I me is in the predicative. Subjective case, also known as nominative, excuse me, when used as subject of a clause example given, I saw him. Okay, so I is our subjective case for the nominative, no? And of course, him function as our objective. Yan. Genitive case, also known as possessive. Okay, kaya kung makikita nyo dito sa ating examples above, no? Meaning subjective cases, pwede siyang mag-show ng possession, origin, attribution or characteristic, partition, subjective, objective, and description. That these are the characteristics and even the meaning of a genitive case. No? Okay. On the other hand, for a summary of such, no, possessive case would refer to the my, mine, ours, his, or hers. Okay, those are things. Again, you can go back, no, and reread our initial part for Unit 2, no, okay, just in case that you feel, no, that you have to reread once more, okay. So those are some few reminders when we talk about of the nouns, okay. Now let's proceed to the pronouns. Again, these are just simple review, but you would notice that we have an additional terms, okay? An upgrade of your vocabulary in terms of the terminologies with all due respect to the first part of speech, so that you have already reviewed and read, okay? Now, let's proceed to lesson 4, the pronouns, classes, and properties. So, English has several categories of pronouns, and pronouns differ in the context they appear in and in grammatical information that they contain. Pronouns in English can contrast in person, number, gender, and also case. So we have already discussed person and number, but to review, English has 3 persons, okay? First, second, and third. First, the speaker, okay, is the one who is talking. Second person, no, okay, is the addressee or the group of the addressees. And the third, which is anybody or anything else, no? English definitely has 2 numbers, no, okay? Singular and plural, no? Singular, individual or undifferentiated group or mass. Plural, it refers to more than one, okay? So the difference between we and they is a difference in terms of its person. We is first person, okay? And they is third person point of view, all right? We, first person, no, okay? But plural, no, in form, no, because it's more than one. And then they is third person plural also, referring to a group of body. Okay? So the rest in terms of the following for a lengthy paragraph, please help yourself to read it. Okay? Read it. All right, children? Yan na. Okay, what else? Okay, so let me take you once again as I try to run you or walk you through the pages. The rest of the paragraphs that are lengthy, please have time to, revisit them, okay? So as you see, we have once again here, no, okay, chart, okay, a chart that has the subjective, objective, and possessive column, no, for our types of point of views, okay? So we have here the first person, second, third male, third female, and third neutral point of view, okay? So you have seen plenty of diagrams, plenty of charts, no, okay, that would show you about first, second, and third. But in this example, you would notice that we have a specific, no, label for third person male, third person female, and third person neutral gender. So take a look on how you're going to interplay the utilization of the following. First person subjective case, okay, singular I, subjective case plural we. Second person subjective singular you is the same for the plural, okay. Third person male subjective, we make use of he, and for more than one or two, they. Same goes with third person female, she. For plural state, you have they, and third person neutral, it. Same as third person male and female, we make use of they, okay. For the objective case, no, here it is as follows, and also for the determinants, okay. All right. So let's have the following reminders for the basic rules to follow when using pronouns, okay? Rule number 1, subject pronouns are used when the pronoun is the subject of the sentence. Very plain and simple. You can remember subject pronouns, no, okay, easily by filling in the blank subject space for a simple sentence. For instance, blank did the job. Okay, would it be I, he, she, we, they, who, whoever? All qualify and are definitely, therefore, considered as subject pronouns, okay? So you would notice that if there's a presence of a blank in the beginning, which of the following pronoun is the most suitable, no, to fix the entire sentence, no? Okay? Would it be I did the job, he did the job, she did the job, we, they, who, whoever? Okay, so you just have to choose, no, because these are therefore considered as subject pronouns. Okay, rule number 2, subject pronouns are also used if they rename the subject. They will follow to be verbs such as is, are, was, were, am, will be, had, and also been. Okay, so examples here we have it is he, okay, this is she speaking, and it is we, okay, who are responsible for the decision to downsize. Okay, next, we have a specific note here. In informal English, most people tend to follow to be verbs with OP, also known as object pronouns, like me, her, and them. Many English scholars tolerate this distinction between formal and casual English. For example, it could have been them, okay? Technically correct, it should be, it could have been they, okay? Second example, it is just me at the door. But the technically correct should be, it is just I at the door. Ayun, okay? Third rule, this rule surprises even language watchers when who refers to a personal pronoun, okay? Such as I, you, he, she, we, and they. It takes a verb that agrees with that pronoun, okay? The correct version is, it is I who am sorry, okay? I am, no? Incorrect, it is I who is sorry, okay? Correct, it is you who are mistaken. All right, so it refers to you are. Incorrect, it is who's mistaken. Okay. Rule number 4. In addition to pronouns, there are also object pronouns, known more specifically as direct object, indirect object, and the object of preposition. Object pronouns include me, him, himself, us, them, and themselves. Examples, Jean saw him. Okay, so you would notice that the word him is positioned in the predicative part, right? Him is the direct object of the verb saw. Okay, give her the book. All right, the direct object of give is book, and her is the IO. Indirect object always have an implied to or for in front of them. Okay, just like for instance, give to her the book. Do me a favor. Okay, what favor? For something. Okay, are you talking to me? So in this example, me is the object of the preposition to. Okay, rule number 5: the pronouns who, that, which becomes singular or plural depending on the subject. If the subject is singular, use singular verb. If it's plural, then use a plural verb. Okay, all right. Sometimes you must look more closely to find a verb's true subject. No? For example, he is one of those men who are always on time. The word who, okay, refers back to men, diba? Therefore, the plural verb, no, okay, are is our subject. Okay. All right. Rule number 6. Pronouns that are singular, I, he, she, everyone, and everybody, anybody, anybody, anyone, no, no one, nobody, someone, somebody, each, either, neither, okay, they always require a singular verb. No? Okay. This rule is frequently overlooked. That is very true when using the pronouns each, either, and neither. Okay, so followed by of. Yan. So those three pronouns always take singular verbs. Remember that. Do not be misled by what follows of. So the intervening phrase of, no, okay, should not distract you when it comes to, no, okay, choosing the right verb. Okay, actually the right verb is in the singular form. Each of the girls sings well. Okay, so you would notice that right after the of the girls, the intervening phrase, no, okay, we have the verb sings, and sings is a good pair for the pronoun each. Okay, either of us is capable of doing the job. Okay, so again, there's an intervening phrase which appears to be definitely plural, but because as per the rule, each or either, okay, is always known to be paired with a singular verb. Same goes with neither, okay? Ayan. Exception, we have when each follows a noun or pronoun in certain sentences, even experienced writers sometimes get tripped up. So we have here an incorrect sentence. The woman each gave her approval, all right? So the correct version for the previous is this. The woman each gave their approval. So instead of her approval, it should be their approval, okay? Because we have the women, okay? The women rather, all right. Next, incorrect sentence. The words are and there each ends with a silent vowel, okay? Correct version. The words are and there each end with a silent vowel, okay? So as you see, we have here, no, okay, the words are, all right, and there, each end without an S, no, okay, each end, because words are, all right, and then there, okay, we have each end, yeah. So the presence of the coordinating conjunction indicates, no, okay, that there are two characteristics, no, that has to be delivered, no, okay. This example should not contradict rule number 6 because each is not the subject, okay, but rather an adjunct, okay, the one who's responsible for describing the true subject. Okay, rule number 7, to decide whether to use a subject or object pronoun after the words than or as, mentally complete the sentence, no? For example, blank is as blank as what, all right? Margie is as smart as her or as she. Okay, if we mentally complete the sentence, we would say Margie is as smart as she, okay, but not her. All right, therefore she is our correct answer. Okay, next we have other examples here. No, Zoe is taller than I or me. Okay, Zoe is taller than I am. It's supposed to be I am. No, okay, mentally completing the sentence, we have Zoe is taller than I am. Okay, Daniel would rather talk to her than I or me. We can interpret the sentence in two ways, actually. For example, Daniel would rather talk to her than to me. Okay? Or Daniel would rather talk to her than I would. Okay? So this one is another possible version. Okay? The second one. Okay. A sentence meaning can change considerably depending on the pronoun that you are going to choose. Remember that, children. Rule number 8, the possessive pronouns yours, his, hers, its, ours, theirs, and whose never need an apostrophe. Avoid mistakes like herses and yourses. Okay. Ninth, the only time it's has an apostrophe is when it is shortened or contracted form. No? Okay. For it is or it has. The only time whose has an apostrophe is when it means who is or who has. There is no apostrophe in oneself. Avoid oneself, which is a common error by writers, most likely. Okay, examples, it's been a cold morning. It has been a cold morning. It is. a cold morning. But you would notice here that the construction it's, okay, this stands for it has been. It has been, because we have here, no, okay, the been verb, no, okay. All right. The thermometer reached its highest reading. He's the one who's always on time. He is the one who is always on time. He's the one whose wife is always on time. Keep oneself ready is important. Keeping oneself ready is important. Okay. 10th rule, pronoun that end in self. Selves are called reflexive pronouns. There are 9 reflexive pronouns such as myself, yourself, himself, herself, itself, oneself, ourselves, yourselves, and themselves. Okay. Reflexive pronouns are used when both the subject and the object of a verb are the same person or thing. Example, Joe helped himself. If the object of the preposition refers to a previous noun or pronoun, use a reflexive pronoun. So in our example here, Joe bought it for himself. Okay. Reflexive, okay, help avoid confusions and nonsense. Without them, okay, we might be stuck with sentences like Joe helped Joe. Okay. So it should be Joe helped himself. Diba? Okay. Correct, I worked myself to the bone. Okay. That's a very what do you call this one? Unusual, no, type of description. I work myself to the bone. Okay. The object myself is the same person as the subject I. Okay, performing the act of working. Okay, so we have here other sample sentences. My brother and myself did it. The correct version should be my brother and I did it. Okay, do not use myself unless the pronoun I or me precedes the word it in the sentence. Okay, let's try to have the following example. Incorrect. Please give it to John or myself. Okay, the correct version, we have two. Please give it to John or me. Or you saw me being myself. Okay, please give it to John or me. Okay, instead of saying, please give it to John or myself. Okay, so myself refers back to me in the act of being. Okay, a sentence like, for instance, help yourself looks like an exception to our rule until we realize it is considered a shorthand. You may help yourself. Okay, so that is the proper way of saying help yourself. No, that's very informal. You say, you may help yourself, go ahead. In certain cases, a reflexive pronoun may come first. Example, doubting himself, the man proceeded cautiously. Reflexive pronouns, on the other hand, are also used for emphasis. For example, he himself finished the whole job. Okay? Rule number 11. The use of they and their with singular pronouns is frowned upon by many traditionalists. To be consistent, it is a good practice to avoid they and its variants. Okay? Example given. Them, their, and themselves. With previously singular nouns or pronouns. Okay? Let's take a look at the example. Not consistent, someone has to do it. And they have to do it well. Okay? The problem in this sample sentence, no, is the word someone. Okay, someone is singular, but they is plural, right? Someone singular, they is plural. Okay, if we change they to he or she, we get a rather clumsy sentence, even if it is technically correct. Okay, so technically correct, how are we going to replace it? Let's have this correct version. Someone has to do it, okay? And he or she has to do it well, okay? So this is a much more, accepted version, okay? On the other hand, replacing an inconsistent sentence with a poorly written one is a bad bargain. The better option is still to rewrite it, no, in a formal manner. For example, rewritten form, someone has to do it and has to do it well. Okay. So you would see that instead of saying and he or she has to do it well, no, what is maintained here, okay, is the verb, the auxiliary verb has. No, okay, it was repeated. Someone has to do it and has to do it well. Okay. Many writers abhor the he or she solution, following in more examples of why writing is a better idea than using he or she or him or her to keep sentences consistent. Inconsistent? no one realizes when their time is up. Okay, let's see the version here, no? Okay, of the original above. Awkward version, no one realizes when his or her time is up. But you would notice, BSE, that this one is still considered permissible, right? Especially in oral discourse, no? You know what? Nasabihin sa inyo ng speaker, no one realizes when he or she, no? Okay? When his or her time is really up. And then the much more better version would be this, no? Okay? None realize when their time is up, okay? So this is considered as a more formal version of the previous. Another one, example, if you see anyone on the trail, tell them to be careful. So the inconsistency is the usage of anyone singular and them plural, okay? Awkward version, if you see anyone on the trail, tell him or her to be careful, okay? Again, in a traditional way, we can accept this, but we are being offered with a more what do you call this one, formal, okay, and at the same time newer version of getting acquainted as to how to work with our pronouns. So the written form is this: tell anyone you see on the trail to be careful, okay? So you would see, no, that there's really a difference between the first two sentences above. Okay. Rule number 12, when a pronoun is linked with a noun by and, mentally remove the and plus noun phrase to avoid trouble. Example, her and her friend came over. All right. Again, we remove and her friend. We are left with the ungrammatical her came over. The correct version, she and her friend came over. Incorrect? I invited he and his wife. Okay? If we remove and his wife, we are left with the ungrammatical I invited he. The correct would be I invited him and his wife. Incorrect? Bill asked my sister and I. Okay? If we remove my sister, okay, we are left with the ungrammatical Bill asked I. Okay? So the correct version would be Bill asked my sister and me. Okay? 13th rule, if two people possesses the same item and one of the joint owners is written as a pronoun, use the possessive form for both. Okay? Maribel and my home, incorrect. Incorrect version once again. Mine and Maribel's home. The correct and accepted form, Maribel's and my home. Okay. Second sentence, he and Maribel's home. Incorrect, him and Maribel's home. Correct version, his and Maribel's home. Yan. Incorrect, we have our third example sentence, you and Maribel's home. Another incorrect version, yours and Maribel's home. And the third one is Maribel's and your home. Okay. All right. So take note that the above examples do show that when one of the co-owners is written as a pronoun, always be reminded to use a possessive adjective such as my, your, her, our, and their. Okay. Furthermore, avoid possessive pronouns such as mine, yours, hers, ours, and theirs in such shortcuts or constructions, rather, no, constructions. Okay. Do not combine a subject pronoun and an object pronoun in phrases like her and I, okay, or he and me. And in addition, whenever and or links an object pronoun her or me and a subject pronoun he or she, one of those pronouns will always be wrong. Okay, so this is a very good note for all of us to be reminded of. Okay, incorrect version for the last example, her and I went home. And lastly, she and I went home. She went and I went. Okay, so that's another version. She and I went home. Okay, so the following insights were borrowed from the following references below. Okay, so tomorrow, maybe tomorrow, I'll be posting this. I am okay tonight, and then I'm expecting everybody to please do watch the video that I'll be uploading later. Hopefully, I can upload the entire video. Okay, Together with that, I'll be sending you also copies of what an adjective is, no? Okay? And then let's see, no? Okay? Please do use tomorrow as our time, to reread, okay, the IMs and some additional materials that I'll be asking the class to read, okay, for tomorrow. I will not be able to see everybody tomorrow, okay. Let me stop share my screen right now, okay. I have an important chore to attend to, but again, please do maximize our period when it comes to reading, okay. The remaining coverage for our midterm exam. So from the beginning, okay, what does it mean to know a word until noun, pronoun, and of course, okay, let's see it. Just a very few of the adjectives, okay? Another reminder for everybody, okay? The entire June will be utilized for the practice teaching week. Not practice teaching, okay, week, but practice final demonstration teaching for the fourth year high school. So I'll be coordinating with the class as to how we're going to have some amendment, no, in terms of our schedule, because most likely Ma'am Shia and I will be utilizing June, the entire June, okay, from Mondays to Fridays when it comes to observing online demonstration and face-to-face demonstration. So we're still waiting for the letter of excuse which will be given by our director in order to inform all of you as to the change of our scheduling. But definitely on our specific schedule for purposive comma and also for structure of English, okay, we will provide you still with asynchronous tasks to accomplish and part of our IM to read and some videos to watch, okay? Thank you very much, BSE. I'll coordinate with your representative and the rest of the class once again, okay? Please use our time effectively. Good day, everyone. God bless.